A plan to cheat, a lesson to learn. Emily, Katie, and Sarah were the best of friends, bound by years of shared experiences, secrets, and late night venting sessions. They had all married young, thrown into the chaos of balancing careers, family life, and their evolving roles as wives. Lately, however, each had felt neglected and unappreciated by her husband, sparking conversations filled with frustration and discontent. One evening, as the three friends gathered at Emily's house, sipping on wine, Emily broke the silence with a dangerous idea. "We've spent years being faithful wives, doing everything for our families," she said, her tone laced with bitterness. "But when was the last time we felt truly free?" Katie, who had recently discovered that her husband, Jake, was working late nights more often, raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean? Like taking a break?" Emily smirked, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "A break from our husbands, just for a weekend. We live a little, let loose, and remind ourselves of who we were before marriage." Sarah chuckled, taking another sip of her wine. "Are you saying we should cheat?" Emily shrugged nonchalantly, giving a daring glance to each of her friends. "Why not? It's just a harmless fling, they won't even know." Katie and Sarah exchanged hesitant looks. Though the idea seemed risky, the lure of freedom, of feeling desired and adventurous again, proved hard to resist. With enough persuasion from Emily, they agreed to the plan. Little did they know that their decision to seek revenge would come back to haunt them in unimaginable ways. The setup: a web of deception. Over the next week, the three women plotted their grand getaway, carefully constructing alibis. Katie told her husband she was visiting her sister out of town for a few days. Sarah mentioned a girls' spa retreat to her husband, Ryan, emphasizing how much she needed a little me time. Emily crafted a story about meeting an old college friend, planning to stay in a neighboring city for a supposed reunion. Their plans seemed airtight. The excitement of the upcoming weekend filled them with a renewed sense of thrill. They felt like teenagers sneaking out for a forbidden adventure. However, in their eagerness, a few small yet crucial details slipped their notice. Emily's husband, Liam, had noticed a shift in her behavior. She'd been secretive, preoccupied, and a bit distant, which didn't sit well with him. Growing suspicious, Liam confided in Jake and Ryan. As they discussed their wives' unusual excuses, a chilling realization dawned on them. They were all being deceived. Furious and hurt, the three men decided to uncover the truth. Instead of confronting their wives, they hired a private investigator to follow them for the weekend. The weekend of freedom. The weekend finally arrived, and the three women embarked on their adventure, feeling a heady mix of nervousness and exhilaration. They met up in a neighboring city, staying in separate rooms at a boutique hotel, but keeping in touch to check in on each other's dates. Emily met a man she'd connected with online, a suave executive with a flair for witty conversation. She was instantly captivated, feeling as if she'd shed years off her age. The flirtatious glances, the stolen touches, the laughter. It felt intoxicating, giving her a thrill she hadn't felt in years. Katie, meanwhile, met up with an old friend from college who'd always had a crush on her. As they sat across each other at a dimly lit restaurant, memories of her carefree youth came rushing back. She laughed at his jokes, felt her heart flutter with his every glance, and allowed herself to indulge in the attention she felt deprived of at home. Sarah's encounter was similar. She'd arranged a date with a charming stranger she'd met through a friend. They danced, drank, and talked late into the night, the world around them fading as she basked in his flattery. Each woman felt liberated, momentarily shedding the guilt in favor of the thrill they craved. But unknown to them, the investigator hired by their husbands was tracking their every move, taking pictures, and documenting their actions. Every laugh, every lingering glance, every discreet touch was captured and sent directly to their husbands. By the end of the weekend, the men had enough evidence to confront their wives. The confrontation, a broken bond. When the women returned home on Sunday evening, they found their houses eerily quiet. Emily opened the door, expecting to find her husband in his usual spot in the living room, but instead, she was met with silence. The house was dark, except for a dim light coming from their bedroom. Her stomach twisted with unease, but she brushed it off, thinking Liam was probably asleep. Upstairs, Emily found a neatly arranged pile of photographs spread across their bed, images of her with another man, laughing, flirting, embracing. She felt her heart drop as she realized what these pictures meant. Her mind spun, searching for an explanation, but there was no denying the truth. In the next room, Liam sat waiting, his face a mask of hurt and anger. When she walked in, he held her gaze with an icy calmness she'd never seen before. "How could you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Katie and Sarah were met with similar scenes at their own homes. Ryan and Jake, their husbands, sat with expressions of betrayal, demanding answers. Every excuse the women gave sounded hollow. Every attempt to justify their actions fell flat. In that moment, they understood the depth of the pain they had caused. The fallout, repercussions of betrayal. The days that followed were nothing short of a nightmare. Their husbands moved out, each initiating legal separation. Emily, who had started the plan, felt the weight of her guilt crashing down on her. She had underestimated how much her actions would affect not only her marriage, but also her identity. The thrill she'd sought now felt meaningless. Katie, who had once seen her marriage as safe and steady, was devastated. Jake had been her best friend, and now he was a stranger, refusing to speak to her, unable to look her in the eye without seeing the betrayal she had committed. Sarah, too, was left reeling. Ryan, her husband, had always been loving and patient, and she had shattered his trust beyond repair. Despite her pleas for forgiveness, Ryan decided to end the marriage, unable to move past her betrayal. The three friends met up in the aftermath, but even their friendship felt fractured. There was a somber air between them, a mutual understanding of the line they had crossed. They had sought freedom, but what they found was a lifetime of regret. A path to redemption? After months of separation, Emily, Katie, and Sarah found themselves in counseling, each woman attempting to understand the insecurities and frustrations that had led them to betray their husbands. Emily desperately reached out to Liam, but he kept his distance, unwilling to forgive her so easily. Katie's husband, Jake, eventually agreed to work through things with her, but it was a fragile truce, one based on the hope that she could regain his trust. Sarah, however, faced the end of her marriage. Ryan moved on, leaving her with a painful lesson in the cost of impulsiveness and dishonesty. The three women, who had once been inseparable, now found solace only in the memories of their past friendship. Though they tried to maintain some semblance of connection, the shame and guilt overshadowed their bond. In the end, they realized that freedom was never about escaping their responsibilities, but rather finding joy and fulfillment within them. Each woman walked away from this experience forever changed, carrying the heavy weight of her choices, a lesson learned far too late. When three close friends, Emily, Katie, and Sarah, decide to escape the routine of married life by secretly planning a weekend of infidelity, they believe it's just a harmless adventure. But their seemingly foolproof plan quickly unravels when their suspicious husbands uncover the truth. As secrets come to light, each woman faces the devastating consequences of her betrayal, discovering that the freedom they sought comes at a price. In the aftermath, they must confront the shattered pieces of their marriages and the friendships strained by regret. A story of trust, consequence, and the lessons learned too late.